Who's excited for the 2017 September Apple event? Well, if you're watching this video, you probably are. And the event is actually just 2 weeks away. Now, this is going to be the biggest Apple event yet. And I'm not just saying this in terms of how big the announcements are going to be, but also in terms of how many announcements we are going to have. So welcome to the Zone of Tech, I'm Daniel, and here's everything you need to know about Apple's September 2017 event. So yeah, grab some salted popcorn, lots of it, because this is going to be a very, very exciting video with lots of stuff they want to cover. And yeah, enjoy. Okay, so most of you probably know what the main announcement of the event is going to be. And that's going to be the iPhone 8. Now, I've actually done quite a few leaks and rumors episodes on the iPhone 8, so in case you have been following the series, you should have a pretty general idea of what we're expecting to see in the 2017 iPhone 8. So the iPhone 8 is Apple's biggest change ever since the original iPhone. So we're actually getting a complete redesign for the first time. So those bezels are going away completely, and same goes for the home button. So no more home button on the iPhone 8 at all. Instead, we are getting a much larger 5.8 inches display, even larger than the iPhone 7 Plus's display, but in a much smaller form factor. So it's almost the same size as an iPhone 7 actually, a 4.7 inches iPhone 7, but with a display larger than the Plus models, which is pretty impressive. And the iPhone 8 is also going to be Apple's first iPhone to come with an OLED display. So OLED versus the LCD panel that we've seen ever since the original iPhones. And this would essentially translate into much vibrant colors, higher contrast, and more importantly, those perfectly deep black levels. So yeah, on top of that, we're also getting a few more display improvements. So we are getting a resolution bump. And then on the sides, we're also getting a stainless steel frame. So similar to what we got with the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S back in the day. And then we're getting so many extra features and changes. So improved cameras with 4K video up to 60 frames per second, which is just crazy. And that's, by the way, on both the front and the back-facing camera. So yeah, the front one was actually limited to 1080p 30 frames per second on the iPhone 7. And now we're getting a bump from 1080p 30 to 4K 60, which is just crazy if you think about it. Now, on top of all this, we're also getting a lot of new sensors on the front. So if you take a look at that sensor bar, we are getting a few new sensors. So one of them would be the iris scanner. Then we're also getting an infrared receiver, an infrared transmitter, and all of these sensors would actually bring face recognition to the iPhone. So Touch ID is also going away. It's actually going to be replaced by Face ID entirely. So Apple Pay, everything you could do with Face ID, with Touch ID, is going to be replaced with Face ID. And then we're also getting a full glass back. So again, like we had with the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S back in the day. And one of the reasons why we are getting a glass back is because of wireless charging. So the iPhone 8 is also going to come with wireless charging. Okay, what else? Well, on top of all this, we are getting an Apple A11 processor, which is now based on a smaller 10nm process. Now, performance-wise, this would actually be really close, or even better actually in some cases, than most Intel Core i5 mobile processors, and even i7 mobile processors in some cases. So yeah, the iPhone 8 is definitely Apple's biggest change ever since the original iPhone. Now, this was just a summary of everything that Apple is going to announce on the iPhone 8 and all the features. Again, I have more videos covering everything more in depth on the iPhone 8. This was just a quick summary. Okay, so what else besides the iPhone 8? Well, the second thing that we are going to see at the Apple event is a brand new Apple TV. So a 5th generation Apple TV. Now, at the moment, the 4th generation Apple TV, even though it's a massive improvement from the 3rd generation, so we actually got full apps, and we have an app store, and we have Siri support, among so many other cool features, it's still limited to only 1080p resolution. So this is finally going to change with the Apple TV, the 5th generation Apple TV. So it's going to support 4K video, 4K resolutions up to 60 frames per second. And also, apart from this, HDR10 and also Dolby Vision. Now, Dolby Vision is actually a standard that wasn't really adopted by many TV manufacturers apart from LG. So it's really cool to see Dolby Vision in the Apple TV. Dolby Vision is the most advanced HDR standard out there. And again, Samsung doesn't really support it yet. LG does, and now the Apple TV will as well. So we've seen the 4K and HDR support hinted in iOS 11 in the betas and in the HomePod firmware as well. And now, in case you want to know more about the future, by the way, of Apple TV, I'm not talking necessarily about just the 5th generation Apple TV, but the future of the Apple TV in general. We've actually seen a few leaks that Apple might be working on an actual TV. So not just a small TV box, but an actual TV. And I've actually done a separate video just on that. So the future of Apple TV, in case you want to know more about all those Apple TV leaks. Okay, so iPhone 8, Apple TV Series 5, or 5th generation. What else? Well, the Apple Watch Series 3 is also coming at the Apple event. So Apple will be introducing a 4th generation Apple Watch called the Apple Watch Series 3. Okay, so what changes is the Apple Watch Series 3 coming with? Well, design-wise, it is still going to look identical to the original Apple Watch, to the Series 1 and the Series 2. The Series 2 was a bit thicker, by the way, than the Series 1. The Series 3 might be a tiny bit thinner than the Series 2, so about the same thickness as Series 1 in the original Apple Watch. So it is going to come with all the features of the Series 2, among with a few new additions. So the main one would actually be LTE support. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you will be able to take your Apple Watch almost anywhere and still have an internet connection, even if you don't have your iPhone with you. So this basically means that calls, at least voice over IP calls or VoIP calls, would be supported, along with pretty much every single feature that requires an internet connection on the Apple Watch. Would you actually need this feature, the ability to use your Apple Watch anywhere you are without having your iPhone with you? I think not really, because if you go on a camping trip or something in the wild, so to say, you will probably take your phone with you. So I don't really see the point in this, but I don't know, some people might use it. Let me know in the comments if that's one of you. Now, apart from all these features, we are getting a couple of more workout improvements, a few workout changes, and a couple of more sensors when it comes to health tracking. Now, in case you want to know more about the Apple Watch Series 3 and everything basically regarding the Apple Watch Series 3, I've done a Final Leaks and Rumors episode on the Apple Watch Series 3. So in case you want to know everything, the link for this is in the description as well. Next up, we have another iPhone announcement. Well, actually 2 more iPhones apart from the iPhone 8. So apart from the iPhone 8, Apple will be introducing 2 new iPhones this year. So the iPhone 7s and then the iPhone 7s Plus. Now these are essentially going to be an improved version of the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus. So no major design changes, no OLED display, but we do get some camera improvements apart from the 3D cameras, which would be exclusive to the iPhone 8. And then we're also getting some pretty big performance improvements with the Apple A11 processor. So same as with the iPhone 8, we are getting the same Apple A11 processor. And on top of all this, the back is going to be made out of glass. So that would be the only design change, apart from the fact that it's actually getting thicker, that we would get on the iPhone 7s. So instead of the aluminum back that we've gotten so used to ever since the iPhone 6, we are getting a full glass back. Now, the reason for this is not necessarily to change the design a bit, but also to add wireless charging, since wireless charging would be coming to the iPhone 7s as well. So not just the iPhone 8, but also to the iPhone 7s and the iPhone 7s Plus. And same as with the Apple Watch, I've also done a Final Leaks and Rumors episode on the iPhone 7s. So if you want to know everything about the iPhone 7s, everything we're expecting to see, all the features, all the changes, and the differences between the iPhone 7s and the iPhone 8, check out this video, a link for this in the description as well. Okay. What else? Well, iOS 11 is finally going to be not introduced, but released. So iOS 11 was actually announced back in June at WWDC 2017. And overall, iOS 11 it's a step forward for the iPhone because we get quite a few new things. So we get things such as a redesigned control center, a redesigned customizable control center actually. We get the file browser and many more features, but these would be the biggest ones. However, the biggest change in iOS 11 is actually the iPad. So the iPad is going to feel like a completely different device with iOS 11. So the control center and the app switcher have been basically merged into just one page. So you can enable it by either bringing up the control center, or you can double tap the home button, and that's how you can get to this page. We also get a brand new app dock, which is now larger, and it also shows you the most recent apps, and you can basically bring it up anytime you wish with a swipe of a finger. So it actually looks and also acts pretty similar to how the dock on macOS does. And on top of all this, you now have full drag and drop support. So you can drag anything from basically any data you wish, any links, any text, images, anything from one app to another. And then you can even do a drag and drop for a specific app. So if you open up the dock, you can drag an app over the display. And this is how split screen works in iOS 11. So iOS 11 is a lot more intuitive than it was before, at least on the iPad. So the iPad is definitely getting a complete makeover. Okay, so what else? Well, besides iOS 11, macOS High Sierra is also being released. Now, the biggest change in macOS High Sierra would be the new file system. So this is designed by Apple specifically for flash storage. So it's called APFS, so Apple Proprietary File System, and it's actually bringing some pretty noticeable performance improvements to the Mac. So for example, you can now copy a file like instantly. And besides this, there's also a couple of more improvements when it comes to APFS, but that would be the biggest one. So everything is going to feel faster, more responsive. File copying will be done in an instance. And besides this, we're also getting H.265 or HEVC support. So HEVC support for both encoding and decoding video. Besides this, we're also getting the new Metal 2 API for improving GPU calling. So basically the GPU performance is going to be improved with macOS High Sierra. But for me personally, the biggest change would actually be native GPU support, native external GPU support, that is. So what does this mean? Well, it basically means that if you buy an external enclosure, you can add a GTX 1080 Ti to your MacBook Pro if you care about gaming, for example. Or if you care about video editing, you have to go the AMD way, and you can get an RX 580 or you can get an AMD Vega 64. For example. So lots of pretty big changes are coming to macOS High Sierra performance-wise and expandability-wise with the external GPU. So I'm really, really excited for this. And speaking of software, macOS High Sierra isn't the only cool thing that's being announced and iOS 11. So WatchOS 4 is also getting released. So this one actually brings some new watch faces to the Apple Watch. And then you even get a watch face that's, it's called the Siri watch face. And it works pretty similar to how Google Now works. So it will now show you all the information that you need directly on the watch face. So you get stuff such as traffic info, weather, when you have to leave to work, and sunrise, sunset, and all of those things. Pretty similar to how Google Now works. So I think this is going to be the watch face that I will be using. Now, besides this, we're also getting improved workouts. We're also getting improved swimming tracking. So this means that it automatically tracks your resting. So if you rest in a pool, it automatically pauses the workout, and then when you start swimming again, it resumes the workout. So that's pretty cool. And then we're also getting a few changes that make WatchOS even more fluid and more easy to use than before. So lots of apps are getting redesigned. The main app drawer is getting a redesign as well. So lots of visual changes that make the Apple Watch much more easier and more intuitive to use. And these are overall the main announcements that we are expecting to see. So when is this event going to happen, really? Well, in September, but in some of my previous videos, I predicted a September 11 to September 12 date, along with a late September pre-order for the iPhone 8. And more and more sources are actually reporting that this is indeed going to be the case. So a September 12 event, that would be on Tuesday. Monday would make a lot more sense, but some of the Apple events have been on Tuesdays, so September 12 is most likely going to be the date. Now, when it comes to the location, the Apple event would be held at the Steve Jobs Theater, which is at the new Apple campus, which, by the way, is still in construction. Now, that would honestly make it so amazing and appropriate since, well, Steve Jobs was the one that introduced the original iPhone back in 2007, so that's 10 years ago. And the iPhone 8 is essentially Apple's 10-year anniversary iPhone. So having it introduced at the Steve Jobs Theater, I think it would make it even more special than it already is. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what top 3 announcements are you most excited for? So I don't know, for me personally, that would be the iPhone 8, obviously, then the 4K Apple TV, since I do plan on upgrading, finally, and then finally macOS High Sierra for all the performance improvements, APFS, and obviously external GPU support. So really excited for all these. Let me know in the comments which ones are you most excited for. Other than that, if you want to see more in-depth videos like this one, feel free to subscribe to my channel. It's free. And then also don't forget to enable notifications on my channel. You can simply do that by tapping on that bell icon and you'll be notified as soon as I upload a brand new epic video. Feel free to give this video a like if you have enjoyed it to let me know. And yeah, this was pretty much it. Let me know in the comments also if you're epic enough to make it until the end of this video, if you've finished your popcorn. But yeah, this was pretty much it for this video. So yeah, thank you for watching until the end. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you in my next video. So yeah, Ton of Tech, signing out. Cheers.